Hi everybody, I'm interrupting my lecture series on Chapter 7 in order to review the homework for Chapter 6. Okay, so what I've done is I've put together a little worksheet here as usual that will go through the problems using, and I asked you to do 4, 7, 8, and 9 from Chapter 6. Okay, so here they are right here. Let's look at them together. Okay, again, if you follow the text, these are really not all that difficult, even though this is new territory to you. So right now, Xerox, their common stock is trading at $13.07. That per share, their dividend is 25 cents annually per share, and their earnings per share for the most recent year is 91 cents. You could also use a projected amount. Okay, but we're going to stick with actuals. So all three of those numbers are actuals. So given that data, what is their dividend yield and their dividend payout ratio? Okay. The first thing that you want to do is the dividend yield, and that simply means what do you get back in cash dividends per share through how much you have to invest. I don't care how many shares you bought, okay? This can be done on a per share basis. So if you bought just one share or a million shares, I don't care. So what we do is we take the dividend, how much you get back, divided by how much you have to invest to get it. That's the denominator, 1307. And because we want to express that as a percentage, we multiply it by 100. So I'm going to call this, obviously, the dividend yield. And it's going to be a factor of taking the dividend per share divided by the price you have to pay per share. And of course, we're going to multiply that by 100 so we can express that as a percentage. So take 0.25 divided by the price per share and multiply it by 100. And the proper answer is, with two decimal places, $1.91. Okay? And that is per share. All right. Looks a lot tougher when you're looking at the problem, doesn't it? But these really are not difficult if you follow the rationale and the formulas that I've given you. Okay, the second thing I asked you to do is the dividend payout ratio. The dividend payout ratio, and again you can express that in total dollars or as dollars per share. Let's keep it easy and do it dollars per share. Means you say of the total earnings per share that a company has, how much of that are they paying out as dividends per share? Okay, some companies, most companies I dare say, it's on the small side because those earnings per share are best served plowed back into the company's growth. Okay, but some companies do pay a very high one. So in this case, the dividend payout ratio is going to be a matter of taking how much they pay out, which is 0.25. We're going to divide that by the earnings per share, which I think it said was 0.91. Okay, let's go back and check those numbers because I just have these scrolled in the margin of my book. Yes, those are accurate. Okay, so let's math it out. We take 0.25 divided by 0.91 multiplied by 100 so we can get it as a percentage. I'll give you two decimal places, and that is 8%. Okay, that is your answer. This company, Xerox, at the time was paying out 27 and roughly 0.5% of their earnings per share as a dividend. That's a very healthy number, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Very good. Next one I asked you to do is problem number 7. Let's see what that one's all about. Okay, now 7, 8, 9, obviously we had 3 significant calculations about share pricing in Chapter 6. So I wanted to give you one problem regarding each one. So here's the first one. All right. No, that's problem 6. I wanted you to do problem 7. I'm sorry. Okay. We have preferred stock. The $200 par value preferred stock of Vendetti Enterprises. They pay 7% dividend, and we assume that that dividend is paid in full. Okay. The market's required rate of return, we note in this chapter, is R sub S, return on a stock, is 6%. At what price should the stock be trading, all else equal? Okay, now, when you have a stock that is paying a dividend, preferred stock, you can note it in one of two ways. You can say this stock is paying 7% of its par. That would be $14 per share. Or I can simply say this is $14 preferred stock. Either way, we derive the number, $14 a share, if this company pays a dividend, it's going to be 14 bucks. Okay? The second thing that we need to know, going back to our original formula, is R sub S. Okay, when you're valuing a constant dividend stock like preferred stock, the math is very easy. You're going to take not 7%, but 6%, R sub S, and that becomes your denominator. It's 6%, okay? So let's note that is R sub S. Okay, and hold on. That is 6, and I'll note that as percent. So the math actually becomes quite easy. We're going to take $14 and divide it by 0.06. That is all there is to it. This is so easy. So let's math it out and see what we get. And I'll give you 2 decimal places on that. Bear with my typing this morning. Okay, and that is a percent. No, it is not a percent. I'm so sorry. I was not trying to trick you there. That is dollars. Okay, we're solving for how much you should pay, and that is $233.33, the current price. Okay, please remember, in this formula, the $14 will stay constant. Why? Because it's preferred stock. You know that if the board declares dividend, it will be 14 bucks per share every year. But the R sub S can change, and as it does, as we'll see later in Chapter 7, that's how the price of the stock can vary. Okay? But for now, the answer is to buy a share of the stock, given a 6% environment, you should be planning to pay $233.33 per share. Okay, the next one I asked you to do is problem number 8. Let's go take a look after I save this. There we are. All right, common stock. Okay, a dividend was paid of $1.87. The dividend will grow by 1.5% every year for the foreseeable future. And I give you an R sub S. The required rate of return of a stock of this level of risk is 7.25. Where should this stock be trading? We're looking for the price, and this is clearly a constant dividend growth stock. And for that, we know that we use the Myron-Gordon model that I spent a lot of time on in our chapter. Okay, so let's write down some of the facts here. We need to know, right now, the current dividend per share. Okay, we're going to need to know the required rate of return, and we're going to need to know the growth rate of that dividend that we expect. Okay, the current dividend per share for this stock is $1.87. The required rate of return that we're expecting is 7.25. Okay, and the growth rate that we do expect for the stock is going to be 1.5%. Those are all the pieces of data that I think you need to know to solve this problem. All right, now let's solve it. Now the first thing that you need to do is you need to remember we're using the formula D sub 1 divided by the required rate of return, R sub S, minus G. So all you do is to find the price of this constant dividend growth stock is plug in the numbers. So we're going to take the current dividend per share, 1.87, and we're going to grow it by 1 more year at the growth rate expected. That is going to be 1.015, 1.5%. 1 more year of growth. You derive what that dividend will be by multiplying it by 101.5%, or 1.015. We're going to take that result. That's now going to give you D sub 1, because $1.87 is D sub 0. You want D sub 1 1 year from now. We know what that number is going to be. Now the denominator, we're going to take the difference between the required rate of return, which is 0.0725, and the growth rate, which is 0.015. I think I have all that right. Okay, So let's see what we get. We'll take 1.87 times 1.015, that's my numerator. I'm going to divide that by parens 0.0725 minus 0.015, and I get $33.01. Okay? Now, there might be some rounding there, depending on whether you used 1.02 as the second factor in that numerator. Regardless of rounding, you're going to get $33 and very low change. I would accept any number in that area. So please, when you take a quiz, remember to focus upon the word approximately. Okay? This is a beautiful illustration of the Gordon model. The trick is knowing when to apply the Gordon model. It's when the stock is growing, when its dividend, I should say, is growing at a constant rate that I give you. You know how much dividend has just been paid, how much you expect that dividend to grow as a percent, and the required rate of return for a stock of this level of risk. The last problem I'll leave you with, of course, is problem number 9. And as you might expect, this is going to be a 2-stage model. That means that there are 5 things you need to know. Okay, let's identify those as we go. All right, this company, let's go take a look at it here, is called Lambert & Jones. All right, revolutionary technology, lucrative launch. That means a lot of cash early, but they can't keep that dividend growth up for long, so there'll be a supernormal period lasting a finite amount of time. After that, they'll normalize to a growth rate of 3% per year. They paid you a dividend of $1.05, and you need to know R sub S. There it is, friends. Those are the 5 factors you need to know. Let's write them down. Okay? First of all right, we'll call it the supernormal growth. And we said that that's going to be, bear with me, 15%. The second thing we need to know is how long. That's the supernormal period. And that's going to be 4 years. All right, the next thing I tell you is they'll normalize to 3% per year. So let's call that the normal growth rate afterwards. The dividend is then going to grow at 3% per year. The fourth item I have to give you is the current dividend that they just paid, and that dividend is $1.05. So I'm going to give you that number. Let's remember that those are dollars. And finally, you need to know the required rate of return of the market for a stock of this level of risk, and that number I gave you as being 9%. There we have it. Everything that we need to know to solve this. You'll recall that we solve in 3 steps. Okay, regardless of my spelling. So bear with me, please. There we are. I'm sorry, I'm very anal retentive about typos. Okay, there we are. So step one is going to be, all right, project the dividends during the supernormal growth, which will only last a certain number of years. So I'm going to say, what is the year? Okay, what is the growth, and what is the amount of the dividend? And as I did in the text, I'm going to keep that to 3 decimal places so we get a little more mathematical accuracy. Obviously, the dividend we just paid was $1.05, so I'm going to take that out to, it's going to be 4 more years. So let me add some pennies to that. Okay, this is going to be year 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the growth, what is the growth? During the supernormal period, it's going to be 15% per year. So I'm going to take $1.05 times 15. Now you'll remember in the illustration I did a moment ago, okay, I kept it to 2 decimal places, $1.87. Okay, here I'm going to use 3 only because we're projecting numbers and then discounting them. So I'm going to take my $1.05 I just paid. I'm going to add the growth I expect, and that means 1 year from now I should be paying a dividend of $1.20.8. I'm going to do that again and again for the next 4 years. So my dividend, is going to be in 4 more years $1.80, roughly $1.83.6. Okay, that's step 1. Those are all the numbers I need. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is step 2, obviously. Step 2 is going to involve taking the dividend at that point and using the Gordon model to find the price at year 4. Okay? So that means I'm going to take $1.836. Now my dividends have normalized, and they've normalized to a rate of 3%. I'm going to grow it at 1.03. All right, 3% plus the original amount, 103%. Right out of Gordon, right out of problem number 8, okay? So I'm going to take that number as my numerator, and I'm going to divide it by the difference between my required rate of return, 9%, and my normal growth rate, G, of 3%. Okay? Let's see what that gives us. Let's math that whole thing out. Okay, parens, 1.836 multiplied by 1.03%, 103% I should say. I'm going to divide that by 0.06, and I get 3152 roughly. I'm going to keep it at 3 decimal places. Okay, so I've got all this data from step 1. I've got this piece of data from step 2. Step 3, I'm going to say pull it all together by discounting to today. Because we are trying to do what? We're trying to solve how much you should pay for a share of this stock today. Okay? So I'm going to take dividend 1, dividend 2, dividend 3, and the stock price at year 4. Oh, I forgot one, didn't I? Yeah, I've got dividend 4 to contend with. This is a 4-year problem. Okay, stock price at year 4. Okay. So I'm going to put here, let's call it the raw value without discounting. Here I'm going to put the PVIF. I can't use an annuity, okay, because they are different numbers every year. I come up here and take the raw values, okay? So I'm just going to plug them in. Raw. Come up to step 1 and grab my dividend, my year 1 dividend number, 1.208. I'm going to make all of these 3 decimal places. I'm going to make my PVIF 4 decimal places, and my discounted value I will use 2 decimal places. Let's see if this all works. All right, all of my dividend values, yep, all the yellow numbers all translate down to here. My PVIFs, I want you to go over to table number, what table? Single value, okay, this is not an annuity, so it's either table 2 or 4. If it's not an annuity, it's going to be table 2. Go to table 2, find the PVIF. Using 9%, we always discount at the required rate of return. Go to the 9% column, year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and if I did this right, you'll get the numbers. 9174, 8417, 7722. I'll have to fix those after, and 0.7084. I believe those numbers are all correct. I'll double check them for you after. To find the discounted value, as you know, you take the raw value, multiply it by the PVIF. We use formula number 2. Okay? There are my discounted values. $1.11, $1.17, $1.23, $1.30. That is what each one of those future dividends is worth today, 0.0. The very last thing I do, the very first thing I do is correct the spelling of the word stock, okay? And I take my step 2 value, my Gordon value, 31.518. I discount that. That's 4 years in the future. I can use that same value that's in cell D65, 0.7084. I multiply 31.518 times 0.7084, and the value of that $31.52 4 years in the future is worth $22.33 today. All right, to conclude step 3, I'm going to take all of those values and combine them, and I find that I get the answer $27.14. Okay, that's how much the stock is worth today. That's the purchase price I should plan on paying. You've just solved problem number 9. We are all done. I hope you find this helpful. What's coming up? We're wrapping up the chapter. This is happening quickly, friends. So I'm going to record 1, possibly 2, probably 2 more video lectures to wrap up chapter 7. There's my timer. And then I will review the homework. I'll assign homework and review it for chapter 7. And that is essentially going to bring us to the end of the course. I'll be talking probably through postings about what to expect to wrap up our final quiz and its timing. Okay? I hope you found this helpful, ladies and gentlemen. Please make sure you get to me with questions if you have any, and enjoy your day. Bye-bye.